I watched my fiancé's tongue down another woman's throat at his own birthday party. Everyone saw it. Everyone stayed quiet. So I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I smiled, raised my glass, and made sure he'd remember this night for the rest of his miserable life. But before I tell you how I burned his world to the ground, let me take you back to where it all started. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, hit that like button right now. And subscribe, because by the end of this, you'll understand why revenge is a dish best served ice cold. My name is Lennox. I'm 28, an architect, and I've always been the kind of woman who builds things. Beautiful things, solid things, things that last. 4 years ago, I thought I was building a future with Callum. 4 years of inside jokes and Sunday morning pancakes and planning a life together. 4 years of believing that when you love someone with everything you have, they'll love you back the same way. I was wrong. It was supposed to be perfect. Callum's 30th birthday. I'd been planning this surprise party for 2 months. I rented out this gorgeous rooftop venue with string lights and a view of the entire city skyline. I ordered a custom cake from that bakery he loves, the one that's always booked 3 weeks out. I invited 50 people. Everyone who mattered to him, friends from college, co-workers, his cousin who flew in from Seattle. I even invited her. Sienna, his so-called best friend from college, the one whose name came up just a little too often in conversation, the one whose texts made his phone light up at midnight, the one I told myself I was being paranoid about. I should have trusted my gut. Women always know. We feel it in our bones when something's off, when the person we love starts pulling away in ways we can't quite name. But I ignored it. I convinced myself I was being insecure, that I was overthinking, that love meant giving people the benefit of the doubt. What a joke. The night of the party, I remember getting ready in our apartment. I wore this emerald green dress that Callum always said made my eyes look incredible. I curled my hair, did my makeup, sprayed on the perfume he bought me for our anniversary. I looked at myself in the mirror and thought, this is it. This is the night we'll look back on years from now and smile. The night everything was perfect. Callum was already at the venue, setting things up with a few early arrivals. When I got there, something felt wrong immediately. He barely looked at me, gave me this distracted kiss on the cheek like I was some distant relative, not the woman he was supposed to marry in 6 months. I brushed it off. He's just stressed, I told myself. Busy greeting people? It's his birthday. Don't make it about you, Lennox. Then she walked in, Sienna, wearing this stunning red dress that hugged every curve. And here's the thing that made my stomach drop. Her dress matched Callum's tie. Perfectly. That specific shade of crimson red. I'd bought him that tie 2 weeks ago. He said he picked it randomly that morning. But looking at them standing there together, laughing about God knows what, both wearing the same color like some twisted couple's costume, I knew. I knew it wasn't random. Nothing about this was random. I watched him look at her, not the way you look at an old friend, the way you look at someone who knows the taste of your lips. His eyes stayed on her just a second too long. His smile was different, softer, more real than any smile he'd given me in months. And that's when the doubt I'd been swallowing for weeks started rising in my throat like poison. I didn't know it yet, but in 3 hours my entire life would shatter. And I'd make sure his did too. The party was in full swing, music pumping, champagne flowing, everyone laughing and dancing under those string lights I'd so carefully chosen. It should have been magical. Instead, I felt like I was watching my life through foggy glass, everything slightly out of focus, slightly wrong. I tried to play the perfect hostess, smiling at guests, making sure everyone had drinks, pretending my world wasn't tilting sideways. But my eyes kept finding them. Callum and Sienna, always in the same corner, always too close. I watched her touch his arm when she laughed, not a casual touch, a lingering one, fingers trailing down from his shoulder to his elbow like she was memorizing the shape of him. And he let her. He didn't step back. He didn't create distance. He leaned into it, They had this bubble around them, this invisible force field that screamed intimacy, inside jokes I wasn't part of, whispers I couldn't hear, looks that lasted too long. Every alarm bell in my body was ringing, but I kept telling myself I was being crazy, paranoid, the jealous girlfriend everyone warns you not to become. Then I noticed something that made my blood run cold. They disappeared, just vanished from the main party area. I scanned the crowd, trying to look casual, trying not to seem like the pathetic fiancé searching for her man. My best friend Talia caught my eye from across the room. She looked worried, actually worried. That's when she walked over and pulled me aside, away from the music, away from listening ears. "Lennox," she said quietly, her hand on my shoulder. "I don't want to start drama, but I saw them earlier. On the terrace. And it didn't look like just friends. Her eyes were full of pity. That's what killed me. The pity. Because it meant she saw what I'd been too afraid to admit. That the man I was supposed to marry was playing me for a fool in front of everyone I knew. My heart was hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. I wanted to scream at Talia that she was wrong, that she misunderstood, that Callum loved me and would never. But the words died on my tongue because deep down I knew she was right. Every late-night text, every time he pulled away when I tried to be close, every excuse about work drinks and catching up with old friends, it was all leading here, to this moment, to this truth I'd been running from. I told Talia I'd handle it. I don't even know what that meant. I just needed to see for myself. I needed to catch him in the act because some sick part of me still hoped I was wrong. I pushed through the crowd, my heels clicking on the rooftop floor, my breath coming too fast. I checked the bathroom hallway. Empty. I checked near the bar. Not there. Then I heard it. Giggling. Her giggling. Coming from the far corner of the terrace, the secluded spot where the lights don't quite reach, where the music fades to a distant hum. I walked toward that sound like I was walking toward my own execution. My hands were shaking. My vision was narrowing. And then I turned the corner and saw them. Callum had Sienna pressed against the railing, the city lights twinkling behind them like some romantic movie scene. His hands were in her hair, her arms were wrapped around his neck. And they were kissing. Not a peck, not an accident. A deep, hungry, deliberate kiss that told me everything I needed to know. Time stopped. My entire body went numb. 4 years of my life, of our life, reduced to this single image that would be burned into my brain forever. And the worst part? I looked around. Other guests had seen it too. They were standing there frozen, eyes wide, and then they turned away. They saw my humiliation and they looked away like it was too painful to witness. That's when something inside me broke. But it wasn't my heart. It was whatever was holding back my rage. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Something ice-cold settled over me, something sharp and crystalline and deadly calm. I walked toward them slowly, deliberately, my heels echoing on the concrete. I reached into my clutch and pressed record on my phone, hiding it so the camera could catch everything. Evidence. I'd need evidence. They were so lost in each other they didn't even hear me coming. That's how little I mattered in that moment. I was invisible, erased, replaced. Callum. My voice came out flat, dead, like all the warmth had been sucked out of it. They jumped apart so fast Sienna nearly tripped over her own feet. Callum's face went white, then red, then white again. His mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. Sienna had the audacity to smirk. Actually, smirk, like she'd won some prize, like destroying my life was a game and she'd just scored the winning point. "Lennox, wait, this isn't what it looks like," Callum stammered, holding up his hands like that would somehow stop what was coming. Like those words hadn't been used by every cheater since the beginning of time, like I was stupid enough to believe them. "Really?" I stepped closer, my voice getting sharper. "Because it looks like you're tongue-deep in your best friend at the party I threw for you. The party I planned for 2 months. The party I paid for with my own money while you were apparently too busy planning this." I gestured between them, my hand shaking with rage I could barely contain. Sienna actually tried to speak. "Lennox, it just happened. We didn't mean for you to—" "Shut your mouth." I turned on her with so much venom she actually stepped back. "You don't get to talk. You came into my life, into my relationship, wearing his favorite color, playing innocent, pretending to be his friend. You knew exactly what you were doing. Every text, every laugh, every touch, you knew." My voice was rising now, loud enough that people were starting to gather. I could see phones coming out, cameras pointing at us. "Good. Let them watch. Let everyone see what he did." Callum tried to grab my arm. "Can we please talk about this privately? You're making a scene." I shoved him off me so hard he stumbled. "Don't you dare touch me. Don't you dare try to make this about me making a scene. You made the scene when you decided to cheat on your fiancé at your own birthday party. You made the scene when you disrespected me in front of everyone I know." "It was just a kiss, Lennox. You're overreacting." The words had barely left his mouth when my hand connected with his face. The slap echoed across the rooftop. Sharp, brutal, final. His head snapped to the side, and when he looked back at me, there was a red handprint blooming on his cheek. The crowd gasped. Someone whispered, "Oh my God!" I didn't care. I wanted him to feel a fraction of the pain tearing through my chest. "Just a kiss?" My voice was shaking now, thick with rage and heartbreak. "You destroyed 4 years with just a kiss? Our engagement? Our wedding? Our life? All of it worth less than just a kiss?" I pulled out my phone, the one that had been recording everything, and I connected it to the party's Bluetooth speaker system. My hands were steady now. Purposeful. "You wanted to humiliate me publicly, Callum? Let's make this really public." I pressed play on a voice memo I'd found on his laptop 3 weeks ago when my suspicions got too loud to ignore. I'd been snooping. I'd found gold. Their voices filled the air. Callum and Sienna laughing, talking about me like I was nothing. "I can't believe she has no idea." Sienna's voice giggled through the speakers. "She's so trusting." It's almost sad. Then Callum's voice, the voice that used to whisper "I love you," saying, "I'll end it after the wedding. Just play along for now. The deposit's non-refundable anyway." The silence that followed was deafening. 50 people stood frozen, staring at Callum like he was something diseased. His mother, who'd just arrived, had her hand over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. His boss looked disgusted. And Callum? Callum looked like a man watching his entire world collapse. "Where did you—" he whispered. But I was just getting started. I looked at him standing there, pathetic and exposed, and I felt nothing but cold satisfaction. This was going to hurt, for both of them, and I was going to enjoy every single second of it. I reached down and twisted the engagement ring off my finger. The ring I'd saved for 6 months to help pay for because Callum said he wanted to contribute to our honeymoon instead. The ring that represented every promise he'd just shattered. I held it up, letting it catch the light. "You know what this cost?" $12,000. "Your money?" "Number. My savings. Money I could have spent on anything else. But I spent it on us because I believed in us. I believed in you." My voice cracked on that last word, but I pushed through it. I walked over to the champagne fountain, that ridiculous expensive fountain he insisted we needed, and I dropped the ring right into it. It sank slowly, bubbles clinging to the diamond, and then disappeared into the bottom. Callum lunged forward like I'd thrown his child into a river. He actually got on his knees and shoved his hand into the fountain, fishing around desperately while champagne soaked his expensive suit. People were recording everything. His humiliation was going viral in real time, and he didn't even realize it yet. He looked pathetic, small, exactly what he was. But I wasn't done. Not even close. "Oh, Callum, there's more," I said sweetly, pulling out my phone again. "See, when I found that voice memo 3 weeks ago, I did something smart. I hired a private investigator. Cost me $2,000, but it was worth every penny." I swiped through my phone, then connected it to the projector screen we'd set up for the birthday video montage. "Everyone, I hope you don't mind, but instead of celebrating Callum's birthday, let's celebrate the truth. Photos started appearing on the screen. Big, crystal clear, undeniable photos. Callum with a blonde woman at a hotel entrance. Date stamped. Callum with a brunette at a restaurant, his hand on her thigh. Another date. Callum with someone else. Someone who definitely wasn't me or Sienna, kissing in a parking garage. The photos kept coming, a slideshow of betrayal spanning 6 months. The crowd was dead silent except for a few gasps and someone's grandmother saying Jesus Christ under her breath. I looked at Sienna. Her face had gone from smug to horrified. She was staring at those photos like she was seeing a ghost. Surprise, Sienna. You weren't special. You were just another affair. Number 4, actually, if we're counting. Her mouth fell open. The realization hit her like a truck. She'd thought she was different. She'd thought she'd won, but she'd just been another name on his list of conquests. You told me I was special, Sienna shrieked, wheeling on Callum. You said you loved me. You said she didn't understand you like I did. Her voice was climbing, hysterical, and I just stood back and watched the show. Watched them implode. This was better than anything I could have planned. Callum tried to calm her down. Sienna, please, just let me explain. But she wasn't having it. She slapped him, hard, right across the same cheek I'd hit. He staggered back, and now both sides of his face were red. She was screaming at him, calling him every name in the book, and he was trying to defend himself, and they were tearing each other apart while everyone watched. His boss had already left. His mother was crying. His friends were backing away like his failure was contagious. I walked to the microphone stand, tapped it twice, and waited for silence. When I spoke, my voice carried across the entire rooftop. I planned this party to celebrate the man I loved. Instead, I'm celebrating my freedom. To everyone here who saw what was happening and stayed silent, you're complicit. You watched him disrespect me and said nothing. To Callum, enjoy your ruined reputation. Everyone knows what you are now. To Sienna, congratulations. You won a cheater. I hope you're happy together. And to me? I raised my champagne glass high. To me, for walking away from this trash fire and never looking back. I walked over to where Callum was standing, still soaking wet, still bleeding dignity from every pore. I looked him dead in the eyes, lifted my champagne glass, and poured it slowly over his head. The golden liquid ran down his face, his hair, his ruined suit. Then I grabbed my coat, and I walked toward the exit. Talia and my real friends followed behind me like a protective wall. I didn't look back. Not once. Behind me, I could hear Callum calling my name, begging, but his voice got smaller and smaller until it disappeared completely, just like he was about to disappear from my life. Forever.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.